Welcome to the Morning English Podcast. Listen, learn, and speak English daily.
So, I want you to think about how many times today, just today, you've looked someone dead in the eye, smiled, and said, I'm fine.
Oh, wow. Yeah, probably half a dozen times before lunch.
Right. And meanwhile, internally, you are definitively, structurally falling apart.
Oh, absolutely.
It's crazy because
Yeah.
as native English speakers, we have this massive vocabulary. We've got, 30,000 words at our disposal?
Give or take, yeah. It's a huge database.
Exactly. We have the linguistic tools to describe the exact hue of a sunset or the intricate mechanics of a combustion engine.
Right, highly specific stuff.
But then the second we turn that descriptive power inward, the whole system just crashes. We look at our own internal landscape, get completely overwhelmed by the data, and just output this two-word lie.
I'm fine.
I'm fine, just to end the interaction. Why do we do that?
Well, it's actually this really remarkable paradox of the human brain. You see, the sheer volume of vocabulary we have, it actually works against us when we're in emotional distress.
Wait, having more words makes it harder.
Yeah, it really does, because when your limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain, when that gets highly activated, your prefrontal cortex gets throttled.
And the prefrontal cortex is the logical part, right?
Exactly. It's the part that handles complex language processing. So you quite literally lose access to that 30,000-word database.
Oh, so you're actually, biologically locked out of your own vocabulary.
That's a great way to put it. The cognitive load of trying to find the precise, perfectly nuanced term for your existential dread, it's just too high.
So the brain just takes the path of least resistance.
Precisely. It grabs the easiest, safest script it can find.
And the path of least resistance is usually, I'm fine, please stop looking at me.
Yeah, please move along, nothing to see here.
Which brings us to the actual source material we're diving into today.
Yeah.
And I have to say, this one kind of blew my mind.
It's a really unexpected text for this kind of deep dive.
Totally. We are looking at a document titled Simple English Lessons for Expressing Your Feelings. For context for everyone listening, this is an A1 to A2 level foundational English learning manual.
Which means it's for absolute beginners.
Yeah. People just starting out, the grammar is super basic. The sentences are strictly, subject, verb, object.
Stripped down to the bare studs.
Exactly. But the authors of this workbook were probably just trying to teach, basic verb conjugation.
Oh, almost certainly. They were just focused on fundamental vocabulary retention.
But here's the thing. By stripping the language down to its absolute minimum viable product, they inadvertently stumbled into some of the core tenets of modern psychology.
It's honestly fascinating because we're analyzing this today not as a grammar guide, but as this accidental psychological marvel.
Yeah, because it turns out when you force an adult brain to communicate complex emotions using essentially a toddler's vocabulary, you bypass all these linguistic defense mechanisms we spend our whole lives building.
I love that phrase, linguistic defense mechanisms.
It's so true, though. We use complex words as a shield.
Oh, absolutely we do.
If I tell you I'm experiencing ennui.
Ennui, right. Very fancy.
It sounds intellectual. It keeps you at a distance. You're like, oh, he's having a philosophical moment.
Right. Doesn't invite any actual comfort.
But if I just look at you and say, I feel sad.
That's raw.
It's incredibly raw. It requires so much vulnerability. And this text, it wastes zero time forcing that vulnerability.
No, it really doesn't.
Right out of the gate, it introduces this primary palette of emotion. Just four things. Happy, sad, tired, and worried.
And then it tells the learner, start there.
Right. Why is that baseline so important?
Well, it goes back to that cognitive overload we were just talking about. The text actually explicitly states this. It says, we feel something inside, but we do not know the words. We stay quiet.
We stay quiet. That's heavy for a grammar book.
It is, but that quietness, that's paralysis. By offering only those four primary colors, happy, sad, tired, worried, the manual removes the burden of precision.
You don't have to be a poet.
Exactly. You don't have to analyze the subtle, tiny difference between melancholy and despair. You are just reporting the broader weather system.
Sad is the weather.
Right. Sad is the weather.
Okay, I hear that.
Oh.
But practically speaking, when you're in the pit of a really complex emotional crisis, doesn't reducing your feeling to a primary color like sad feel kind of dismissive?
How do you mean?
If I'm grieving a profound loss or if I'm just completely terrified about my career trajectory, telling myself I feel sad or I feel worried Seems almost infantile.
Like it doesn't do justice to the feeling.
Yeah. Does simplifying the label actually help process the complexity of it?
It does, and it's primarily because of how the brain categorizes threat.
Okay, walk me through that.
So, when you're experiencing a complex, overwhelming emotion, your amygdala, the alarm bell of your brain, is frantically searching for a label to figure out how to react.
It's trying to assess the danger.
Exactly. Now, if you start layering on these complex, highly charged words like, I am devastated, I am ruined, this is catastrophic.
You're basically feeding the alarm bell.
Yes. You are feeding the amygdala massive threat signals. You actually escalate your own physiological stress response just by using those dramatic words.
Oh, wow. So my vocabulary is making my heart beat faster.
Literally, yes.
Yes.
But if you categorize the emotion into a broad, simple bucket like sad or worried, it acts as a cognitive anchor.
It grounds you.
It gives the brain a familiar, manageable label. You aren't dismissing the complexity of the grief. You're just calming the nervous system enough so you can actually start to process it.
So you're giving the brain a safe container for all that raw material.
That's a perfect analogy.
And the text actually offers two ways to frame that container. It provides these parallel structures. It says you can say I feel sad, or you can say I am sad.
And it notes that grammatically both are totally correct.
Right. But looking at this through the lens of psychology, those two sentences, I feel sad versus I am sad, they represent completely different realities, don't they?
They are worlds apart. I mean, the distinction between I feel and I am is a massive focus in modern therapies, especially acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT.
I've heard of ACT. That's the one with cognitive diffusion, right?
Exactly. Cognitive diffusion. When you say I am sad, you are linguistically linking your core identity to that emotional state.
You're merging with it.
Right. You're making it a permanent trait in that moment.
It's like an identity statement, like saying, I am left-handed or I am tall.
Yes.
You're declaring that sadness is a fundamental property of your actual being.
Precisely. And the language you use dictates your internal reality. But when you shift to saying, I feel sad, you create this immediate psychological distance.
Because it's just a feeling.
Right. You are acknowledging the emotion as a temporary physiological state that you were just observing.
You're the sky, and the sadness is just a weather pattern passing through.
I love that metaphor. It's an experience you're having, not a life sentence you're serving.
Okay, but let me push back a little here. Does this linguistic trick actually work when you're in a state of high distress?
It's definitely harder.
Because when I am genuinely curious or heartbroken, telling myself, oh, I'm just the sky and this is a cloud, it can feel a bit like toxic positivity.
Oh, totally.
It feels like this weak intellectual exercise when you're trying to put out a forest fire.
That is a super common friction point when people first encounter cognitive diffusion. It feels artificial.
Yeah, very artificial.
But it's not about forcing yourself to feel positive. It's about altering neuroplasticity over time.
Neuroplasticity, so changing the brain's wiring.
Exactly. And the text actually commands the reader to do this. It says, let's say it again, I feel happy, I feel sad. It relies on constant repetition.
Rote memorization.
Right, because that repetition is key. You are physically building a neural pathway.
Just by saying the words out loud.
Yes. The mechanical act of forming the words I feel worried over and over again trains your brain to default to that observer state.
Oh, I see. So if you don't build that pathway when you're calm, you won't have it when you're stressed.
Exactly. You will absolutely default to the fused I am state when the forest fire starts, unless you've practiced the diffusion in an empty room first.
It's emotional muscle memory.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay, so we've established the internal baseline with I feel. We're observing the weather. But eventually, we have to interact with other human beings.
Which is where things usually get messy.
Yeah, very messy. And this is where the text introduces what is arguably, I think, the most critical mechanism for interpersonal communication in the whole book.
The word because.
Yes. It expands the sentence by adding the because bridge.
The manual introduces sentences like, I feel very tired today because I worked a lot, or I feel worried because I lost my phone.
It seems so incredibly obvious. I'm worried because I lost my phone.
It does seem obvious.
But when you look at how adults actually communicate in real relationships, we omit that because clause constantly.
All the time.
We just drop the raw emotion on the table like a grenade and then we walk away.
We do. And honestly, it is the source of endless interpersonal damage.
Why is that missing word so damaging?
Because when you omit the because, you leave the listener at the mercy of their own egocentric bias.
Egocentric bias, meaning they make it about themselves.
Exactly. Human beings are biologically wired to be meaning-making machines. When we encounter an emotional stimulus like your partner walking into the kitchen and sharply declaring, "I'm frustrated," our brains immediately demand a causal link.
We have to know why the threat exists.
Yes.
It's like giving someone a math problem with a missing variable.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
If you say, I'm frustrated, you're giving them X equals frustrated. But the human brain hates an unsolved equation.
It cannot tolerate the ambiguity.
So the other person frantically tries to solve for X. And because of that egocentric bias, they usually assume X is their own fault.
That is a perfect visualization of the cognitive load involved. Because what happens, the partner's brain instantly runs a background audit of every possible mistake they might have made that day.
Right. Did I forget to pay the bill? Did I leave the kitchen a mess?
Was my tone weird on the phone earlier? Yeah. Their amygdala fires up, they go immediately on the defensive, and they start preparing a counter-argument for an accusation that hasn't even been made.
And suddenly you were in a screaming match about the dishwasher.
Right.
When the reality is you were just frustrated because you had a terrible meeting in work.
Ugh.
The entire conflict is a phantom.
It's entirely generated by that missing variable.
Wow.
But the simple addition of the word because provides the variable so the listener's brain can stop computing.
I feel frustrated because my meeting went terribly.
Yes. You have satisfied the brain's demand for causality. The listener no longer perceives your emotion as a direct threat to their own safety.
Which allows them to actually be supportive.
Exactly. They can shift from a defensive posture into an empathetic one. They can offer support instead of armor.
That is highly efficient empathy generation. But wait, let me play devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
Even if I tell you that, because even if I solve the math equation and say, I'm frustrated because of my meeting, that is still a massive amount of emotional radiation I'm dumping on you.
It is a lot of energy, yeah.
Right, because gives context, but it doesn't necessarily lower the temperature.
Yeah.
A level 10 frustration is still exhausting to be around.
True.
So how does this A1 text handle the sheer volume of the feeling?
Well, it handles it by introducing modulators. The text brings in the words very and little.
Very and a little.
Yeah, like I feel very happy versus I feel a little tired.
Okay.
But the crucial psychological insight here is that the manual explicitly notes that using a little as in I feel a little nervous or feel a little sad sounds softer and more polite.
See, this is the section that completely stopped me in my tracks when I read it.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
A basic language manual is explicitly linking the quantity of an emotion to social etiquette. It is literally telling the learner that downplaying your feelings is a form of politeness.
It is.
But is it inherently rude to be devastated?
It's not about rudeness. It's really about the mechanics of the social contract and what we call physiological co-regulation.
Co-regulation, meaning how our nervous systems interact.
Exactly. When humans interact, our nervous systems are constantly communicating with each other. If you enter a space and broadcast a massive, unmodulated emotion like, I am completely overwhelmed or I am devastated, you are placing a heavy physiological demand on the listener.
Because their nervous system has to absorb that intensity.
Yes. You are effectively signaling an emergency to their body. And we are wired as humans to respond to emergencies.
Right, adrenaline kicks in.
But doing that constantly, especially in casual or professional environments, it leads to adrenal fatigue for the people around you.
That wears them out.
It breaks the social contract. So by modulating the intensity down, by choosing to say, I feel a little nervous instead of I'm consumed by anxiety, you are actively protecting the listener's nervous system.
Like a volume knob on an amplifier.
Exactly.
If you click a guitar in and turn it up to 10, nobody can hear the actual notes.
They just hear distortion.
Right, they just hear feedback, and they want to leave the room because it physically hurts their ears. But if you turn it down to a 3, you can still play the exact same melody. You're still communicating the exact same truth. But the other person can actually listen to it without wincing.
That volume modulation fundamentally changes the nature of the entire interaction.
How so?
Because when you are at a 10, you are demanding a rescue. You are forcing the other person to drop everything and manage your crisis.
Which is exhausting for them.
But when you turn it down to a 3 with the phrase a little, you transform that demand into a gentle invitation.
An invitation.
Yeah. Saying I feel a little nervous about this project opens a door. The coworker can choose to walk through it and offer help, or they can just acknowledge it and move on.
You've been vulnerable, but you haven't taken them hostage.
Exactly. You've given them a manageable piece of your emotional reality.
Okay, that makes sense for nerves or sadness. But this raises a massive red flag for me when we move into the texts section on social friction.
The anger section.
Yes. Because it's one thing to downplay your nerves about a presentation. It is an entirely different thing to downplay your boundaries.
It's definitely controversial.
The text tackles anger, and the advice it gives seems almost backwards.
It builds this escalation ladder for angry feelings.
Right. The manual says you can state, I feel angry, but then it pushes the modulation. It says, you can say, I feel a little angry. This sounds softer.
And then it drops the bombshell.
The absolute bombshell. It says, if you want to be very polite, you can say, I feel a little upset. This is softer than angry. It actually tells the learner to substitute the word entirely.
It does.
And it gives this specific scenario. Your friend is late. And instead of being angry, it tells you to say, I feel a little upset because you are late.
Which is honestly a remarkable distillation of nonviolent communication, or NVC, principles.
But aren't we sacrificing authenticity here?
That's the common critique. Yeah.
I mean, let the friction linger here for a second, because this feels like self-censorship. If I am boiling with rage because you kept me waiting in the rain for an hour...
Right, you're soaked and furious.
Yes, minimizing my anger to... I feel a little upset just to keep the peace. I mean, maybe the friendship survives, sure. But now the friendship is built on a sanitized, entirely fake version of me.
You feel like you're lying.
I do. Where does non-violent communication draw the line between emotional regulation and just flat-out lying to avoid conflict?
That is the ultimate tension in relationship psychology right there. Authenticity versus diplomacy.
Right.
But your premise assumes that the rage is a fixed, objective truth that must be honored above all else.
Well, it's what I'm feeling.
Sure, but the neurological reality is that anger is a highly malleable physiological feedback loop. The words we choose don't just describe our internal state, they actually dictate it.
Wait, the word creates the feeling.
It amplifies it. Your language center is directly wired to the amygdala.
Okay.
So if you stand in the rain and tell yourself, I am furious, this is a profound disrespect, I am enraged, your brain treats those specific words as a little threat assessment.
It takes you literally.
Yes. It signals the adrenal glands to pump cortisol and adrenaline, your heart rate spikes. You are actively escalating your own biological stress response through your vocabulary.
So by choosing the A1 phrasing, I feel a little upset, I am actually hacking my own nervous system.
Precisely. You are downregulating your autonomic nervous system.
Wow.
You aren't suppressing the truth. You are choosing a framework that prevents you from entering fight or flight mode. And from an NVC perspective, look at the brilliant structure of the full sentence the manual provides.
I feel a little upset because you are late.
Exactly. It separates observation from evaluation.
Observation versus evaluation. Break that down.
The instinct when we are hurt is to evaluate the other person's character.
You are so inconsiderate, you are always late.
Right. That is an attack. And an attack guarantees defensive retaliation.
So get a fight back.
Every time. But the A1 sentence strips the evaluation completely. It states the core feeling, I feel a little upset, and then it states the undeniable objective data point that triggered it.
Because you are late.
Right. It leaves no room for debate. You can't argue with, you are late. It happened. You looked at the clock. They weren't there.
By removing the character assassination and lowering the volume of the emotion, you make it incredibly easy for the other person to simply apologize.
Exactly. They can correct the behavior without having to defend their entire personality.
You remove all the noise and leave only the signal. The goal isn't to perfectly express the fiery depths of your rage. The goal is to get them to stop being late without burning the relationship to the ground.
It's highly pragmatic.
That is frustratingly logical.
It is. But it requires suppressing the ego's desire to be dramatically right in favor of the relationship's need to be functional.
Man, suppressing the ego is the hardest part. Okay, so we've navigated how to express our own internal state and how to weaponize polite grammar to save our friendships.
Weaponize polite grammar, I love that.
But the source material also highlights a very specific mistake that learners make when trying to claim an identity. And it's a mistake that reveals so much about how we view ourselves.
The grammar rule regarding the word boring.
Yes. Talk about this because it's wild.
So it's the distinction between present and past participles when discussing feelings. The text outlines this common scenario. It says, imagine your friend says, I am very boring. This is not correct if they talk about feelings. Boring is for things, not feelings. The correct word is bored.
Now, on the surface, if you're just taking an English test, it's a simple syntax correction.
Yeah.
Used an ing instead of an aid.
Right, -1 point on the quiz.
But the philosophical weight of this specific grammatical error is staggering.
It really is. It is the literal difference between an active and a passive identity.
Explain the difference.
When a person accidentally says, "I am boring," they are claiming the role of the emitter. They are defining themselves as the active source of the dullness.
It's an indictment of the self.
Exactly. They're stating, "My fundamental character is tedious, and I emit a lack of value into the world."
That is so sad. It's a permanent flaw.
It is. But when you apply the grammatical correction, when you switch it to "I feel bored," the entire paradigm shifts.
The person stops being the problem.
Yes. They cease to be the source of the problem and become the recipient of an environmental deficit.
An environmental deficit.
Right. "I feel bored" describes a temporary passive reaction to a lack of stimulation in the immediate surroundings. It has nothing to do with their worth.
It's the difference between being a broken thermometer and just being in a cold room.
Oh, that's a brilliant analogy.
Like, I'm boring means the thermometer is shattered, it's useless, it's fundamentally broken.
Right.
But I feel bored means the instrument is working perfectly. It's just accurately reporting that someone needs to turn the heat up in the room. The environment is lacking, not the individual.
That's exactly it. And the way the manual instructs the reader to handle this mistake is honestly a masterclass in empathetic engagement.
It really is. Because it doesn't tell the learner to harshly correct their friend's grammar.
Right? No. It offers a highly specific script. It says, "So you can say politely, 'Do you mean you feel bored?'"
Do you mean?
Yes. That specific framing, "Do you mean?" It operates on the psychological principle of assuming positive intent.
Assuming positive intent.
Right. Instead of rigidly attacking the flawed syntax the person used, which would just validate their self-indictment, it gently seeks to confirm the underlying meaning.
It gives them an out.
Yes. It provides an immediate psychological off-ramp from their own self-criticism.
It basically assumes, look, I know you aren't actually declaring yourself a fundamentally worthless and tedious human being.
Right, I know that's not what you meant.
I assume you were just experiencing a temporary environmental reaction, so I am going to gently hand you the correct linguistic container for that experience.
It is the absolute essence of active listening. You are actively reconstructing their statement into a healthier framework and offering it back to them for confirmation.
That is so beautiful, which transitions us perfectly into the final architecture of the text.
The empathy section.
Yeah. The manual shifts its focus entirely away from how we speak and dedicates its final sections to how we listen. It builds this incredible framework for receiving the emotions of others.
And it grounds this empathy architecture not in massive crises, but in the mundane realities of daily emotional rhythms.
Which is so refreshing. It maps out a baseline. It suggests checking in with phrases like, "How do you feel?" or "Are you okay?"
Simple questions.
Very simple.
Yeah.
And it sets expectations for the answers. Feeling fresh or good in the morning, feeling tired at work, and feeling happy to see you in the evening.
We so often ignore the concept of emotional hygiene.
Emotional hygiene.
Yeah, maintaining that baseline. Modern adults tend to only address their internal state when the check engine light is already flashing.
Oh, totally. We wait for a panic attack or a depressive episode to start asking, how do you feel?
Exactly. But the A1 text normalizes the constant low-level hum of daily emotion. Acknowledging that you are simply tired at work prevents that tiredness from compounding into resentment or burnout down the line.
It keeps the emotional baseline visible before it becomes a crisis.
Right.
But the truly profound part of this empathy section is the script it provides for when the check engine light does come on.
The response to sadness.
Yes. The manual gives a scenario. You ask your friend how they feel, and they say, "I feel sad." The text offers exactly 3 recommended responses.
Just 3.
"I'm sorry, I understand." Or, "It's okay."
Notice what is conspicuously absent from those options.
There is 0 advice.
Fun.
There is no troubleshooting. There's no, "Have you tried meditating?" Or, "Let me tell you why it's actually not that bad."
No toxic positivity.
It is pure, unadulterated validation.
And that is so hard for people to do. In clinical psychology, we spend an enormous amount of time training people to suppress what we call the fixing reflex.
The fixing reflex.
Yeah. The urge to fix someone else's negative emotion. It usually masquerades as compassion, but it is fundamentally a selfish impulse.
Wait, hold on. Trying to help someone is selfish.
It is when the help is unsolicited and driven by your own discomfort.
Oh, okay. Unpack that.
When someone you care about looks at you and says, "I feel sad," Their pain creates a profound dissonance in your own nervous system.
You feel it too.
You feel awkward, helpless, or stressed by their distress. So, by rushing in with solutions like, look on the bright side, or here's a 5-step plan to fix your problem, you are actually trying to eradicate their emotions so that you can stop feeling uncomfortable.
Oh my God.
You are trying to manage your own anxiety, not theirs.
That is a very harsh truth to swallow. We try to fix them to soothe ourselves.
Exactly. We want the awkwardness to end. But the A1 response is, I understand. It's okay. They do not attempt to alter the reality.
They just let it be.
They simply hold space. You are allowing the negative emotion to exist without treating it as a malfunction that must be immediately repaired.
You're validating their internal reality.
Yes, and in the vast majority of human interactions, being seen and validated is the only fix the nervous system actually requires to begin healing.
Wow. And the text gives us one final brilliant tool for when that internal reality is too muddy to even articulate to someone else.
The umbrella phrase.
The ultimate universal umbrella phrase, I don't feel good. The manual explicitly explains, I don't feel good is very useful. It can mean sick or sad.
The inclusion of that specific voice demonstrates a profound understanding of somatic experiencing.
Somatic meaning physical symptoms.
Right. Somatic symptoms are physical manifestations of emotional distress, things like gut pain, lethargy, or tension headaches. And they are so deeply entangled with our psychological state, it is often impossible to differentiate between the two in real time.
Oh, we've all had those mornings.
Yeah.
You wake up, your body aches, your brain is just pure fog, and you think, am I coming down with the flu, or am I just entirely brunked out and depressed by my existence?
It is a deeply confusing state to be in.
You don't have the data to diagnose yourself.
And you shouldn't have to diagnose yourself to earn the right to rest.
Ooh, say that again.
You shouldn't have to diagnose yourself to earn the right to rest. The phrase, I don't feel good, serves as a protective shield. It signals to your environment, I am currently operating at a severe deficit. I require grace, patience, and a reduction in demands, but I cannot yet articulate the precise biological or psychological origin of my deficit.
Basically, I don't know if I need antibiotics or a hug.
Exactly.
It takes all the
Yeah.
pressure off. You aren't forced to present a perfectly researched thesis statement for your malaise before you are allowed to take a step back.
Right. I don't feel good is a complete sentence.
It's a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And it demands that empathy architecture we just discussed.
It really does. When you look at the entirety of this framework, the cognitive diffusion of I feel, the causal grounding of the because bridge.
The physiological protection of the volume knobs with a little.
Yes, the assumption of positive intent with do you mean, and the somatic umbrella of I don't feel good.
It's incredibly comprehensive.
It becomes clear that effective communication has almost nothing to do with the size of your vocabulary.
It really doesn't.
It has everything to do with clarity of intent and a willingness to be seen.
Which is exactly what makes the conclusion of this source document so impactful.
The final advice.
Yeah. After laying out this whole emotional toolkit, the text ends with a push for action. It states, do not worry about mistakes. Mistakes are okay. Mistakes help you learn. Speak every day.
It acknowledges that vulnerability requires repetition. It's an active practice.
And the fear of using the wrong word is exactly what drives us back to the safety of that lie we started with.
I'm fine.
Right. We have to be willing to stumble through the primary colors.
We really do.
So we've dissected this A1 grammar manual and somehow found a blueprint for profound emotional intelligence.
Hidden in plain sight.
Literally. We've seen how stripping away our defensive jargon, abandoning our 30,000-word armory, and returning to foundational structures like, I feel sad because I lost my phone, might be the only way to actually bridge the internal language barrier.
It forces a distillation. You just can't hide behind a simple sentence.
You really can't. Exactly. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a challenge to ponder.
I love a good thought experiment.
Think about your next 24 hours. The meetings, the family dinners, the casual texts with friends.
All those daily interactions.
If you were stripped of your complex, nuanced adult vocabulary, if you were only permitted to use these foundational A1 level sentences to describe your internal world,
I feel sad.
I feel a little upset because you were late.
I don't feel good.
Would the limitations frustrate you? Or, by forcing yourself to abandon the sophisticated words you use to intellectualize your pain and keep people at arm's length, would you finally stop hiding behind your own intellect?
That's a very confronting question.
Would you, perhaps for the first time in a long time, actually allow yourself to be understood?
It's definitely something to chew on.
It is. Keep it in mind the next time someone asks you how you are, and you feel that reflex of "I'm fine" loading in your throat. Take a breath, find the primary color, and try the simple truth instead.